Do you ever grab a microwave meal because you are tired, busy, trying to be good, and you just want something that feels like a responsible choice? That is exactly why this topic matters, because a lot of these meals look healthy on the front, then completely fall apart once you check the salt, the ingredients, and the brand track record. Today, we're counting down 9 microwave meal brands Australians should avoid, and we'll finish with 5 better picks, plus the simple label checks that make shopping way easier, starting at the very bottom with number 9. Number 9. World Kitchen, Portuguese-style chicken and spaghetti bolognese. This one is everywhere. It's cheap, it looks like a normal dinner on the lid, and that's the trap. In Choice's supermarket ready meal reviews, updated in early 2024, World Kitchen's Portuguese-style chicken scored 66%, and the spaghetti bolognese scored 63%. That already tells you something. Then you look at the salt. The World Kitchen spaghetti bolognese sits at 949 milligrams of sodium per serve, and that is before you've added a single side, a snack later, or anything else you eat that day. People buy these because they want easy, and they assume single serve means safe. But a single serve can still be a big salt hit, and with ready meals, that is one of the most common problems. If you are someone who gets thirsty after, feels puffy, or just feels like the meal tastes weirdly intense, salt is usually the reason. The bottom line, if the brand's best-known meals are already landing near a gram of sodium, it's not a sometimes issue, it's a pattern. And next up, it gets even more looks fine, isn't fine. Number 8. Woolworths Spaghetti Bolognese, chilled ready meal range. Supermarket home brands can be a lifesaver, and sometimes they are actually decent, but this is where you have to stop trusting the front of pack. In the Choice ready meal reviews, Woolworths Spaghetti Bolognese scored 64% with 844 milligrams sodium per serve. On paper, it's not the worst salt bomb in the world, but it's high enough that it can blow your day if you're also having bread, cheese, sauces, deli meats, or anything packaged. The bigger issue is what it does to your expectations. You start thinking, this is normal. This is what dinner tastes like. Then, when you try to cook at home, real food tastes bland, so you salt harder, and now the whole household palate is trained to chase that same hit. That seems to be the heart of it with a lot of supermarket meals. They don't just fill you up, they reset your baseline. If you buy these once in a while, fine. If you buy them as a routine, it's worth treating them like a sometimes food, not a default. Moving up the list, the next one is a classic premium label, premium price, premium disappointment. Number 7. Coles Finest, chef-inspired, creamy butter chicken. This is the one that tries to feel like takeaway, but a bit healthier. Coles Finest meals often look like the upgrade option, and people trust them because the packaging screams quality. Here's the catch. Choice's test comments for this meal included things like no vegetables to sight, big clump of rice, and needs seasoning, which is a polite way of saying it's not delivering what the label implies. And that matters because when you pay more, you are paying for taste and balance, not just calories. With butter chicken style meals, the usual issues are predictable. Lots of creamy sauce, not much veg, and it's easy for saturated fat and sodium to creep up fast. So if your goal is a quick meal that actually supports your week, these rich, fake takeaway tubs are often the opposite of what you think you're buying. The practical consequence is simple. You finish it, and you still feel like you want something fresh, so you snack. That defeats the whole point. And now for number 6. This one looks like an Italian comfort meal, but the feedback tells a very familiar story. Number 6. Cucina Classica, rigatoni bolognese. If you've ever bought a fresh Italian microwave meal and thought, why does this taste a little chemical? You're not imagining things. In Choice's testing, Cucina Classica Rigatoni Bolognese scored 67%, and the taste test comments included pasta is soft, overcooked, thin sauce, and very little meat. It even notes that it has less of a chemical taste than other meals in the test, which tells you what this category can be like. On the label side, this one sits at 787 milligrams sodium per serve, and it only has a 3.5 health star rating. That is not disastrous, but it's not what most people picture when they buy bolognese as the safe choice. The problem is not that bolognese is bad, it's that these versions often turn into pasta plus salty sauce, with minimal protein and minimal vegetables. So you get the carbs, but not the satisfaction. That is why people end up raiding the fridge later. Keep going, because number 5 is where the salt situation gets blunt. Number 5, U-Foods, chicken penne and fueled meals, ready-made delivery. U-Foods is popular for a reason. It's convenient, it's heavily marketed as the solution for busy people, and it feels like you are doing something good for yourself. But Choice listed several U-Foods meals as very high in sodium, including U-Foods chicken penne at 1,308 milligrams sodium per serve. That's not a little salty. That's the kind of number that makes you stop and go, how did this become normal? And there's another side to this brand that matters for trust. In December 2025, the ACCC launched federal court proceedings against HelloFresh and U-Foods over alleged subscription traps, after the ACCC says it received a large number of consumer complaints, and court documents allege many consumers were charged even after cancelling before the first delivery cutoff. This is not about taste, it's about whether the business model respects you. So when a brand has meals that can push salt this high, and it's also facing serious allegations about how cancellations and charges were handled, it's reasonable to step back. If you love the convenience, at least treat it like a label reading exercise, not an automatic healthy choice. And now for number 4. It's another brand that shows how quickly fitness meals can turn into salt delivery. Number 4. Strength Meals Co. Lemon herb chicken and braised beef ragu. These meals are aimed at people who want protein and structure, and honestly, that is a great goal. The problem is what Choice highlighted in their ready meal buying guide. Several of the highest sodium meals they tested were Strength Meals Co. options. In Choice's product data, Strength Meals Co. Lemon Herb Chicken sits at 1,208 milligrams sodium per serve, and the braised beef ragu at 1,187 milligrams per serve. That's basically the whole story. High. Protein does not cancel out high sodium. And the frustrating part is, a lot of people buying these are doing it specifically to stay on track. So you pick the responsible meal, then you unknowingly load a huge chunk of salt into your day. And you wonder why you feel thirsty, bloated, or just off. This is also where the health star rating can mislead people, because a meal can still score okay while being way too salty for everyday eating. So if this brand is in your rotation, the move is simple. Don't trust the vibe, trust the sodium number. Quick pause. If you're finding this information valuable and you're still with us, drop a comment with the number 4 so we know you're here. And if this is your first time watching, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. It really helps us continue creating well-researched content like this. Alright, let's get back to it. Number 3. On the menu, entree range, Patty's Food Group. This one is a different kind of red flag, because it's not this meal is salty, it's this product needed a safety recall. In April 2024, Food Standards Australia New Zealand published a recall notice for Patty's Food Group's on the menu entree range due to incorrect cooking instructions. The issue was that the packaging said the meal was oven safe, but the trays were not suitable for oven use, which could cause the trays to melt if cooked as instructed. The recall notice specifically said the meals were safe to cook in the microwave, but let's be honest, if the packaging can be wrong on something that basic, trust takes a hit. A lot of people buy frozen meals precisely because they don't want to think. They want to follow the instructions and move on. So a recall like this matters because it shows how quickly easy dinner can turn into a mess, literally. The practical takeaway is not panic. It's be picky about brands that have had handling or packaging failures. Next. Up. Number 2 is another recall, and this time it's about foreign matter, which nobody wants to think about while eating. Number 2. Little Meals, beef cottage pie, 200 grams, Patty's food group. This is marketed as a kids' meal, which automatically raises the standard. Parents buy it because it's quick, portioned, and it feels safer than random snacks. In April 2024, Food Standards Australia New Zealand published a recall for Little Meals beef cottage pie 200 grams because of the presence of foreign matter, specifically pieces of black rubber. That's the kind of recall that makes your stomach drop, because it's not about nutrition debates, it's about this should never happen. And to be fair, recalls exist because systems catch issues. But if you are choosing between two brands, the one with a recent foreign matter recall should not be your default. The day-to-day impact is obvious. It makes you second-guess convenience foods, and it makes you feel like you have to inspect everything. If you have these in the freezer, check the recall details and batch information before serving them. And now, number 1 is the biggest trust break of the list, because it involves a serious foodborne illness risk. Number 1, Core Power Foods frozen meals, core ingredients. This is the one we really want you to remember, because it's a clean example of why frozen does not automatically mean risk-free. In February 2019, Core Ingredients recalled multiple frozen meals and frozen berries under its Core Power Foods brand due to possible salmonella contamination. And New South Wales Health also issued advice around a salmonella veltifraden outbreak linked to the consumption of certain frozen meals and berries produced by the company. That is not a vague worry, it's a documented public health event. And the hard part with frozen meals is that people often assume microwaving fixes everything. But microwaves heat unevenly, and if you don't stir, rest, and heat properly, you can end up with hot spots and cold spots. So with a brand that has had a major recall linked to illness, the bar for trust should be extremely high. The bottom line is simple. When a brand has a history like this, you don't owe it your convenience. You owe yourself safety. Now that we've covered what to avoid, let's talk about 5 better picks that are actually trying to do this category right. These are not perfect, but they stand out for better sodium numbers, clearer nutrition, and more balanced meal design. First better pick. Fast Fuel Meals, Mediterranean Chicken. Choice's buying guide listed this as one of the low sodium options in their test, and Choice's product data shows 340 milligrams sodium per serve with a 4.5 health star rating. That combination is rare in ready meals. The practical tip? These tend to be pricier, so use them strategically. Keep a few for the nights you would otherwise order takeaway, because that's the real comparison. Second better pick, Easy Eats, Pesto Chicken. Choice also listed this as low sodium in their buying guide, and the product data shows 315 milligrams sodium per serve and a 4 health star rating. This is a great example of why you should stop judging meals by fitness branding and start judging by the sodium number. Tip for buying. Check the protein amount and the vegetable portion, because pesto meals can vary wildly in how much real meal you're getting. Third better pick, Dynamic Roast Chicken. This one scored well in Choice's reviews, and it has a 4.5 health star rating. The sodium per serve is higher than the 2 picks above, at 626 milligrams, but it's still a more balanced option than the salt bomb meals on the avoid list, and it tends to include a more real food structure with protein and vegetables. Tip: if you're watching salt, pair it with a no salt side like extra steamed veg. Fourth better pick: My Muscle Chef Spaghetti Bolognese. This is popular in Australia for a reason. It's consistent, it's protein forward, and it tends to feel more filling than many supermarket tubs. Choice's product data lists 779 milligrams of sodium per serve, so it's not low salt, but compared to the 1200 to 1300 milligram meals, it's a step in the right direction, and the health star rating is 4. Tip: use it on gym days or higher activity days, not as an everyday default. Fifth better pick: Cole's Kitchen Italian-inspired spaghetti bolognese. This one is a sleeper pick. Choice's buying guide listed it as low sodium per 100 grams, and Choice's product data shows 238 milligrams sodium per serve with a 4 health star rating. That is exactly what better looks like in this aisle. Tip: it's usually in the chilled section, and it's cheaper than most delivery meals, so it's a solid busy week backup. Now let's make shopping simple. Because the goal isn't to memorize brands forever, it's to know how to spot a bad microwave meal in 10 seconds. First, sodium is the fastest tell. Choice uses a practical guide. Aim for meals with no more than 120 milligrams sodium per 100 grams, or 400 milligrams per serving. When you see meals pushing 1,000 milligrams or more, that's where the problems start. Choice even pointed out that some of the saltiest ready meals they tested had more salt than a Big Mac. So don't guess. Flip the pack, find sodium, and decide right there. Second, use the health star rating, but don't worship it. A 3.5 or 4 can still hide a salty meal. Treat the stars like a quick filter, then confirm with sodium and saturated fat. The star rating is a tool, not a verdict. Third, watch the comfort meal trap. Butter chicken, creamy pastas, cheesy bakes, and rich curries are where sodium and saturated fat spike, and where vegetable content quietly disappears. If you want those flavors, fine, but treat them like takeaway, not like a health meal. Fourth, look for actual vegetables, not veg vibes. Some brands list serves of vegetables, some don't. It's not stated. Use your eyes. If the photo shows 2 green flecks and the ingredient list is mostly pasta and sauce, you're not getting much volume or fibre, which is why you still feel hungry later. Fifth, be careful with heating in plastic. Choice noted research showing microplastics can transfer from plastic containers into food during microwaving. The easy fix is to tip the meal into a ceramic or glass bowl before heating. It takes 10 seconds and it's one less thing to worry about. Sixth, if you're buying frozen meals, cook them like safety matters. Microwaves can heat unevenly. Follow the standing time, stir if the instructions say stir, and make sure the whole meal is steaming hot, not just the edges. Convenience is great, but only if you treat the instructions as real, not optional. Finally, do the value check. Choice also pointed out that ready meals can average around $9.60, while a homemade equivalent can be under $3. You don't have to cook every night. Even one bulk cook per week, like a tray bake or a big pot of bolognese, can cut your reliance on these meals in half. Then, when you do buy a ready meal, you can afford to choose the better one. So there you have it, 9 microwave meal brands and product lines to be cautious with, 5 better picks that make the aisle less depressing, and the label checks that let you shop fast without getting played. Look, these companies count on us not turning the pack around. But once you understand sodium, ingredient structure, and basic recall history, you're not guessing anymore, you're choosing. Have you tried any of the meals on this list? And which one surprised you most? If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next consumer guide. And drop a comment with what category we should investigate next. Stay informed and shop smart.